Hi, everyone. My name is Gabrielle, and I'm the Sales Support Manager and Marketing Assistant at Datalink Networks. Today, I just wanted to talk a little bit about optimizing your Microsoft 365 tenant and why that's a good thing for you to do. So to start off, who is Datalink Networks? So we were established in 1988, and we're headquartered in Santa Clarita, California. We're a national managed service and IT solutions provider, and we serve clients of all industries and sizes. We provide services in managed services, cybersecurity, Microsoft, communications, networking, data center. Basically, we're a one-stop shop for any IT need that you might have. We are also a Microsoft Gold partner in cloud productivity, communications, data platform, and project and portfolio management. So when we're talking about optimizing your Microsoft 365, it's important to define what that is. So Microsoft 365 includes the standard Microsoft or Office 365 licensing with features such as your Office suite. So that's going to include Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Outlook, OneDrive and SharePoint, and Teams. This is also going to include things like your security applications. So Intune, Defender for Endpoint, Defender for Office 365. If you utilize Compliance Manager, that's part of your Microsoft tenant, as well as any security settings that are in there. So if you enforce strong password policies, if MFA is enabled, things along those lines as well. Based off of what we know from the audits and the optimizations that we have done in the past, on average, less than 50% of purchased services are typically used. What that means is if you're purchasing a license or business standard that comes with a whole slew of different services or features included in it, we found that on average, less than 50% of those are being purchased on not just those more expensive use, but licenses across the board. Additionally, on average, we found that 9% of purchase licenses are unassigned and 12% are inactive. So an unassigned license is a license that you have purchased that is just currently sitting on the shelf waiting to be assigned and used for by somebody. And inactive, we declare as no part of that has been used in the past 90 days. If you add them together, 21% of all licenses that are purchased are just simply not being used. And that does average to a value of just over $7,000 annually per organization that we've analyzed. We also found that 91% of organizations do not have all of their passwords set on an expiry policy. Some of that may have, no passwords expire. Some of them may have had 50 or 75% of passwords expire, but 91% did not have every single password expire. Similarly, 91% of organizations did not enforce a strong password for everyone across the board. So again, could have been 50%, 75%, 90%, but not for everyone. Both of those, depending on your organization's stance on it, could be security concerns, as those are typical security settings. Additionally, on average, organizations have 34 administrative roles assigned. Global admin. 34 admin roles is a lot. Those can range anything from global admin to a Teams admin to a read-only admin, but it's definitely an important thing to kind of take a look at because that could be a security concern, particularly if it's for a user that's no longer within the organization. And 6 global admin is on the higher side. Microsoft does recommend 2 to 4. Just for security purposes, global admin have access to everything within your tenant. 6 is definitely a little bit on the higher side for that. And 50% of organizations had one or more email auto-forwarding to an external domain. That can definitely present a security concern, particularly if that external domain is some Yahoo, like a personal account. So these are just some of the statistics that we found on, why it could be helpful for you to do it. So similarly, why do I need to audit my tenant? There are several reasons. The first one is to optimize your licensing and increase your cost savings. When you are optimizing your licensing, we're talking about not only taking out those unassigned and inactive users, identifying them and taking them out, but we're looking at if there are any suggestions that we can make on our end to find a licensing that fits your organization and your usage better than the one that you have. So for example, a pretty common or a pretty standard recommendation that I make is if your organization has less than 300 users, but you're utilizing Office 365 E3, a really common recommendation would be to move it over to a business standard or a business premium license to either give yourself a decent cost savings or to increase the functionality and the feature set that you have for the same cost. So we're looking holistically on cost savings and increasing that feature set and functionality and really fine-tuning what you have to fit your organization better. We're also going to be identifying security concerns or hidden security concerns. So that's very similarly like the users with auto forwarding. Oftentimes IT directors are not aware that that's happening within their organization. So it's just kind of bringing these things that are already happening within your tenant to light so that you put a stop to it if it's something that needs to be stopped. Additionally, you can learn about failed sign-ins. We can typically see things like the reason that it's failed. Is somebody just putting in the wrong user credentials? Is it because it's coming from an IP address or site with known malware? Who and what countries is it coming from? We can see who has the most failed sign-ins over a specific period of time and really give you that information. If it seems like you have a crazy amount of failed sign-ins, next steps might be what can we do to secure ourselves better to make sure that this doesn't happen. Just general tenant maintenance is a really good reason to audit your environment. Just reviewing licensed users, password settings. Not every organization wants to go on MFA or wants to have password policies or the passwords expire, and that's fine. But just making sure you are aware of where you're standing and you're okay with it, or if you want to make a change that you're aware of what the next steps are. And reviewing the licensed users, reviewing basically what that'll give you is an overview of who is still in your tenant, who is still being licensed, who are you still paying for. Oftentimes, organizations will have a 60, 90, 180-day policy for employees that are no longer with their organization to just maintain their email, be able to take in any emails that they're receiving, or for some compliancy purposes. And oftentimes that'll happen and people will forget about it, and now you're paying for somebody who left the organization 2 years ago. So just generally reviewing those licensed users, making sure they still work there and they have the licenses that they need. And verifying users with administrative access. So not everyone in your organization is going to need admin access, and we want to typically work with the least access that they need. It's better to give them just exactly what they need to get their job done than to give them everything but the kitchen sink, and that presents the security risk. So reviewing them, making sure everything looks correct, and making those adjustments if necessary. So those are all really great reasons to audit your environment. And when we're talking about auditing or the health check, what is that? So the audit that we do of your Office 365 or Microsoft 365 environment, where we do everything. So we'll take a look at your security settings and your administrative roles. And what this is going to do is give you a unique insight to your tenant that Microsoft, your native tenant, isn't going to show you. Microsoft doesn't really care if you want to save money. They want to keep taking your money, but we want to save you money, and we know you want to save money. So we're going to take a look at it from there, and just really putting all of the data and security settings from your native tenant into a platform where we can really analyze it better and tell you things that you might not have otherwise known. Part of what that is too is that we'll provide you with the full audit documentation. So with everything that we find, as well as a license optimization report that will detail what licensing you currently have, what's inactive, what's unassigned, and any specific recommendations that we would make to move from one license to another. So how does it work? So once you decide that this is something you want to do, you're good to go with it, we will send you a link, or we'll send a link to a user within your organization who has that global admin access. That's very important. And what that'll do is give our tool permission to create 2 read-only service accounts. So it basically will just copy and paste your security settings and your audit data into a platform that gives us more visibility than the Microsoft tenant itself. Audit activities are things such as failed sign-ins, if somebody is moving or deleting documents. However, we cannot see inside those actual documents. We don't get any actual organizational data. We just see the settings and like those audit activities, things that are being moved, deleted, shifted, and the failed sign-ins. Also, it is read-only, so no settings can actually be changed from the scan. We can't do anything to your actual tenant besides look at the data and pass it back off to you. So once you fill out that link giving us that permission, we do typically wait about 1 week for the platform to collect information, such as failed sign-ins, because that is a time-based piece of information. And then in a scheduled call, we'll discuss the findings of the audit and really dig deep into specific areas of concern and our recommendations. So typically when we go into a meeting, I'll already have a couple things that don't really make sense to me or to the person administering the call. So that'll be things like if you have users with access to like 10 different mailboxes besides their own, right? That could be something of concern, something that doesn't really make sense on our end. If you have users auto-forwarding to external emails, again, something that maybe doesn't make a lot of sense on our end. We'll already have those things written out that we want to discuss with you, but we'll run through everything that we found. If there's something that doesn't make sense to you, we'll make sure to cover that as well. And then we'll go into the tool and dig deep in specific, in the specific areas where there might be concern. We'll also give you those recommendations to optimize your licensing. So switching from E3 to a business standard, downgrading users from whatever they're on to maybe just an email only license if that's all that they're using, things along those lines. And then after the call, we'll deliver to you the full report that details all of our findings, the license report that will either save you money or provide function. And any other reports that you've requested during our call. So if you were looking at the administrative roles and you're like, I would just really like to have this so I can go check it after the call, we would definitely be able to export that for you and send it over. So how to get started. So if you're interested in talking more about the scan, or if you're ready to get going, you can email us at sales@datalinknetworks.net or chat. And then if you are ready to go and you want to start the scan, you'll receive a link in your email, and we'll get that scan started and schedule that future call. So we really hope that you're interested. Definitely give us a call, send us an email, chat with us. We'd love to hear from you. And thank you so much for your time. Bye.